Like most jobs, audio recording is all about building a foundation of your basics and your fundamentals before you go ahead and use those pieces of tech and that gear that has all the pins and whistles, but you don't understand all those pins and whistles and you don't understand those features. You need to use something a little more simple and a little more basic to build that foundation and to help you get to that upper tier. It doesn't happen overnight, and a lot of times if you start off with something more simple, something more cheap, it will go a long way. And therein lies the H5 audio recorder by Zoom. This recorder is made for people who need to understand the fundamentals, understand the basics, and make sure that they get those things down before they go ahead into the vast world of audio recording. Welcome back to the Rebel Tech channel. I'm Justin, and in this video we're going to be talking about the Zoom H5 handy recorder and showing you how having a simple piece of tech can go a very long way in understanding audio recording, and building that foundation for a possible audio career. But before we get started, if you have any questions, comments, or anything whatsoever, please leave it down in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. If you want to ask me more directly, have a more direct conversation, you can ask me anything, talk to me on my Twitch stream every Saturday afternoon. Twitch.tv/GhettoHappy is the link and the name of my channel, and you could go follow me there and hang out when I go live and just ask me questions about tech, gear, or just have a conversation. Also, if you found this video helpful, entertaining, or anything whatsoever, please leave a like and consider subscribing. So the Zoom H5, it is a handy recorder, very simple audio machine, but it definitely has some features that will help build that audio career. For me, I used it on short films, commercials, even a feature film, and it did the job and it helped me become a better audio recordist. Since then, I've moved on to a Zoom F6 field recorder. Field recorders and handy recorders are kind of like, if you compare, like if a field recorder is related to like a cinema camera, a handy recorder is like a DSLR or mirrorless camera. And I'm not saying that this is the best recorder. To be honest, it's bare bones what you need, but it definitely helped me along the way. The next thing I'm going to get into is, why did I buy this recorder? With all the audio recorders that are out there, the affordable ones especially, why did I choose this one? Well, to be honest, Zoom has always been that company that is the workhorse of audio recording. It might not be like the best, but it has features that is like a workhorse, and I make a big point in this channel to prove those workhorse devices are much more valuable than the fancy devices that could give you some more glitz and glamour, but maybe not as much on the handling and the ruggedness. Now, more specifically, the reason why I got this recorder was because at the time, about 5 years ago, I was starting to get into film production. I got hooked up with these people who were up-and-coming film production people, and they were younger than me, and I just wanted to get back into audio. When I started off college, I was in audio recording. I worked in a studio for about 6 months, and I loved it. It kind of went by the wayside. I didn't get into a school that I wanted to get into about audio recording. I went on and got a separate degree. But then it came back to me later in life, and this is where it led me. It led me to picking up where I left off, and maybe not in the same vein, but still recording audio. And it was a different animal, and I learned a lot. And if I use something more fancy like the F6, I probably would have been overwhelmed and might not have grown as good as I did, and might have stunted my growth as an audio person if I had something more fancy. So the H5 had plenty of features that could give me the proper audio quality, but not overwhelm me with my skill set that I had at the time. Now that we went into my story and where I came from with using recorders like this, let's talk about who is this recorder for, and that there's much more to it than just saying people who are doing a certain job or certain type of recording. It's a certain type of person that it's for. Now, the type of person this is for is someone that was in my shoes, starting off early on in their audio career, someone who wants to get their feet wet in audio recording and learn the basics and learn how to record audio properly the traditional way, and then they will be able to understand it further when they get the fancy equipment like an F6 or an F8 or some type of field recorder. This handy recorder is for people who need to learn the basics first, and it's a tough thing to grasp, especially if you have some background, as I did, in audio recording and you think you're a hotshot and want to do more than you actually can handle. Don't be discouraged if you screw up with this. This thing is made for people to screw up. And that's not saying that it's a bad recorder, it's just for people who need to learn. And I'm going to drive this home the whole way. So if you're looking to get into audio recording and you don't have an audio recorder of this status just yet, seriously consider it before you start thinking about dishing out a couple hundred, actually like $500, $600, $700, even $1,000 on a recorder. So once you grasp that, as far as work is concerned, you could do short films, you could do feature films, you can do YouTube videos like this one. Sure, if you're recording the audio and the video simultaneously and you're doing it all and you're using 24-bit, you gotta be mindful of it. And yeah, sure, I'm recording into 32-bit float because I can, I have it. To be completely blunt and honest, I earned it. I earned the right to use this. And I say right in a very vague and blanket statement. Not necessarily don't have the right to use it. Sure, you could get any recorder you'd like. But did you earn it? Did you earn that status of using a recorder like this? Alright, you still with me? Did you not turn off the video because I told you that you need to learn how to use proper audio equipment before you get into the fancy stuff? If you're still here, good. Because now we're going to actually talk about this recorder and how it works, what it has to offer, and give it some love in the montage department. That being said, let's check this thing out. So now let's talk about the build. So at the top here, we have a replaceable head that has, it comes with, the one that I have came with a stereo setup here with 2 microphones in a Y-axis. Basically, that's the way that stereo recording works. If you have 2 pencil condenser microphones and you want to do stereo recording or ASMR or whatever it is, you cross them to get the stereo signal recorded properly. It takes a little bit of practice and a lot of bit of research, but once you get it down, that's basically how it works, and this is on the smaller scale. So the one that I have just plugs in. There's 2 releases on the side. Plug it right in with a knob that adjusts the gain on it. There's also a line in, so if you have a lav mic that you want to use or some type of 3.5mm mic, that's there for you as well. As we move down the front, you got the screen left and right on the top. The one that I have here is a little bit rugged, and it's kind of beat up, to be honest. It was years of using it, and unfortunately, the thing that I noticed over time, this thing was on the shelf for about maybe a year, and the rubber coating just started to deteriorate, and it became gooey. So I've been slowly cleaning it, and it's wearing away at some of the lettering and the marks on the sides, but it's better than it was. It doesn't feel like it was sitting in a dumpster for a year. So it's better than it was, to be honest. It was pretty rough for a while. Underneath the screen, we have your 2 XLR gain knobs protected by a metal rail, which is my favorite part about this whole thing. You could rest your finger on that while you're recording audio and then slide right down to adjust it, because when you're recording audio, especially in the field, you are going to need to adjust that on the fly, and it's nice to have that there to rest your thumb and not accidentally hit it. That's what it's there for. Moving on, we have the left and right on switches. So if you click them, they go red and they're live, they're hot. Same thing for the 1 and the 2. 1 and 2 represent the 1 and 2 XLR inputs. Pretty simple. Nothing too crazy on that. It's pretty simple. If it's red, you're hot, you're good, you're in standby. Next to your play, your stop, your skip back, your skip forward, and your record button, which is the most important one, with a red light off to the left of there to know when you are recording. Moving on to the left side, on top you have a line out, so just a regular line out for 3.5mm use. You have your headphone jack, which is indicated with a green port. Your volume up and down, pretty simple. A DC 5V USB mini USB, I believe. And you have your on-off switch, which is just a power button, power toggle, and it has a hold function, which I really miss on my F6. I wish they would have had a hold function. Not to say that I'm going to accidentally bump into it, but it would be nice to have. We have a remote port, so you can have a remote of toggling it. They make these remotes. I never use them because this thing it's a handy recorder, so I can't really imagine you needing it, but it's there for you if you need it. Next is the up and down toggle for your menu, and then the menu button is right underneath that. Obviously mine is kind of worn and deteriorating from my cleaning process. And finally on the side we have our SD card slot, and you can only use up to 32 gigs on this recorder. Now that we got through all the buttons and everything, there's some little things I want to point out. Well, actually the next thing is a very important thing. Your 2 XLR ports on the bottom are dual XLR and 1/4 inch ports. So you could put a 1/4 inch like cable for your guitar or whatever in there as well. Now before we get into the specs and the menu on this, one little thing, I would recommend you getting rechargeable AA batteries. And it takes AA batteries, just so you know. I recommend getting AA batteries that recharge. Either you plug them in into a dock, or they make USB ones. I'll leave links down below for the ones that I have. They're a little bit finicky, but they do work. The specs on this recorder are much more expansive than you probably would expect from a simple recorder like this. I won't go into depth with any crazy things. I'm just going to point out some of the important things, because the people that are going to be using this are just getting into the world of audio recording, or they got an understanding, but they're not too tech savvy when it comes to it. So I'm not going to overwhelm you guys. If you want to know anything more specific about this, I'll leave a link to the manual down below. I'll also be happy to answer any questions in the comments as well. So let's start off with the menu. You got your project and your folders. Next up, we have our in and out section. We have a low cut for your input 1 and 2, and for the left and right on the top end. And you have options for 80 Hertz, 98 Hertz, 115 Hertz, 133 Hertz, 150 Hertz, 168, 185, 203, 220, 237, and that's about it. If you're low cutting up to 237 Hertz, you're really asking for not having any low end in your production. So just be careful with that. But if you have to use it, my advice is don't go above 98. You don't want to go above 100. You have the potential of really missing some of those low frequencies, and you can always roll them off later. Next up, you have your compressor and limiter. Pretty simple. Compressor and limiters are very common amongst audio recording and just audio engineering and all audio. Next up on the menu, we have our phantom power options, which simple turn on and off for your input 1 and 2, which it's only available in 1 and 2 because the top part doesn't need it. And your voltage options are 12, 24, and 48. Most of the time, 99% of the time, it's going to be 48 volts, unless the microphone specifies something different. Next up, we have a plug-in power on and off if you're plugging it in with that USB cable. Then you have a pad for negative 20 dB for both inputs 1 and 2. If you want to know any more about those other things, I'm not going to get into depth with that. It's too much to talk about, and you're probably just going to go way over your head. If you want to know more about it, ask me down in the comments, or go check out that manual and we'll explain it a little bit better. Now that we go back into the main menu section, you go into the record section, which you have your record formats, which are 44.1.16, 44.1.24, 48.16, and 48.24. So 24 is your highest bit rate that you're going to get out of this recorder. And if I was you, go 48.24 all the time. It's not going to hurt, and chances are it's pretty standard for most media. Next up, we have an auto record option. I would not use this because accidentally getting record to turn on could be a big problem, and you don't necessarily need it. And if you're using this, you're probably going to be holding it and pressing record all the time. The thing next up is the pre-record, which goes up to 2 seconds, which is key. The Zoom F6 has a 6-second pre-record, meaning when you hit that record button, everything 2 seconds before is going to be recorded as well. So if you're like a second or two late, you can use that as a safety net. Then you have your play section. Basically goes into the files within your SD card. You can just play those. You have your tool section, which is a tuner and a metronome. Tuner for like guitar or something like that, and a metronome, which is like a click track. Next up, we have our system section, date and time, backlight, display contrast, battery type, and the last two are firmware versions and the factory reset. Pretty self-explanatory. I never did the firmware updates on this thing. I don't know if it's going to make much of a difference, but I think I'm going to try it. Back to the menu. SD card. The SD card is just accessing the SD card. The USB section is basically just choosing what function the USB port is. Either an SD card reader, meaning you plug it into your computer and it reads the SD card as if it was a hard drive, just like the Zoom F6, or an audio interface where you could just relay the audio signal to your DAW or OBS or something. And last in the menu is your record mode, either a multi-file or a stereo file. Another thing, won't go into depth, but menu or manual down. I keep saying menu. Manual down below, or ask me down in the comments. Happy to answer any questions about that as well. And that is it. The Zoom H5 handy recorder. It's a good little device and it has a lot of memories for me, and I hope that if you get this, it will have a lot of memories for you. Bringing it along on your journey, building that foundation as an audio recorder, an audio recordist. So thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope it was informative for all you audio recordists that are out there that are just getting started or getting a little bit further along with your audio recording but haven't invested yet. This is a good first investment for your audio recording repertoire. So if you have any questions, comments, or anything whatsoever, please leave it down in the comments section down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Any links that you guys are looking for, they're down there as well. And if you want to ask me more directly, I stream every Saturday afternoon. Twitch.tv/GhettoHappy is the channel. Go give me a follow over there. I'll be very appreciative of that, and I will be happy to answer questions over there. If you just want to come in for like 10-15 minutes, say hi or whatever it is, I'll be happy to have a conversation as well. Also, if you found this video helpful, entertaining, or anything whatsoever, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more videos that are coming out in the future. There are some interesting videos that I have coming out, some short films that I want to try and make, like single form, like single person short films, because I'm all I have. And I want to try and push the limits of what this channel can be. If you have any ideas, please let me know down in the comments of things you might want to see, things for me to talk about, or just about anything whatsoever. And until next time, be safe, be kind. If you go out, please wear a mask. And I will see you in the next video. Okay. Yes?
That's it? Down?
Down.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Let's get you up.
I can nod, but you didn't ask me to shake.
So, welcome to the Sample 17 project.
She obviously isn't taking no for an answer, because otherwise I would be able to shake my head left and right. But she didn't care about that. She just cares if I can nod.
Hello, bonjour.
Oh, bonjour.
It works.
Oui.